So yes, I am Akshita, and today we will be talking about UI UX design and the design trends that we have in the industry. So these are the major topics that I'll be covering. Firstly, we'll learn about the overview of what UI UX design is all about. Then we'll look at some emerging design trends in the industry that can help you keep up with it. Then we'll learn how you can start your career as a designer. Then we'll see some benefits of having a design portfolio, and at the end we'll have some tips and tricks. All right. So did you know that every day 3,500 plus mobile applications are released? Every day, 3,500 plus mobile applications are released on the Google Play Store. And there are millions of mobile apps on the App Store today. Some have been successful, while others have not. But one thing has been common with all the successful mobile apps, and that is they all have a great user interface and provide a great user experience as well. They have a very smooth user experience so that people are intrigued to use the products. Now, because of the pandemic, a lot of businesses want an online presence. They want a website for themselves, and there are so many startups coming up every day. Now, because of this, there is a lot of competition, and the best way to stand out for a brand and be a user's choice is to have a smooth and easy user experience for them. That is where UI UX designers, that is where we come into play. We help these brands stand out from the competition and also become the user's first choice and provide a very easy user experience to their users so that people get loyal to the brand and are hooked to the product as well. So this is what basic overview of UI UX design is. Just to clear the air and the basics, UI is user interface and UX is user experience. All right. Okay, let's move forward. Now let's see some emerging design trends. But before that, I would like to know from the audience who all here are known to the field of UI UX design. Are you a beginner or are you already aware about the field, or are you someone here just out of interest and want to learn more about it so that I can keep my technical jargons accordingly? So just let me know in the chat box. All right, so we have Samya, who's a beginner. Who else? Beginner working on the first project. All right. Okay, so a lot of people are beginners here. All right, so I know I'll keep the language very basic and I'll not use a lot of design jargons, and I'll make sure that you learn from a beginner's perspective as well. All right, hi Aruni. Okay, great to know that. Perfect. So now we'll see some design trends that will help you keep up with the industry and which you can use moving forward in your design projects as well. So the first one is rise of personalization. Now, what happens is when it comes to enhancing user experience, personalization plays a very pivotal role. So users these days, they look for more feasibility while using a product and service online. And their expectations are increasing easily and quickly alongside it because there are so many options. So people don't tend to stick to one product and just wait there. They want that personalization. They want that sense of care from a brand side to stick to the brand. So thereby, users expect custom-made products and services. In fact, many users left using some products and services that cannot be personalized. For this reason itself, it's necessary to incorporate that personalization as one of the prime parts while using the user experience of creating a user experience of a design software or any particular software that you're creating. So make sure that personalization and customization is part of your design process. Now, as companies collect more data on their users, especially first-party data, we are likely to see even more personalization that comes up. So, for example, Netflix. So, Netflix is, I think, one of the obvious examples of personalization because how it greets the users by their name, and the content on Netflix is also such that you get tailor-made content. So your content will be very different from the content shown to your friend because it will be shown to their taste. Even Instagram does this, right? If you're using Instagram and viewing reels on it, you will see the kind of reels according to your taste and interest as compared to your friend who might see something completely different. So this is all part of customization and personalization. Here as well, when people on Netflix greets the user with their name, like welcome Akshita or welcome so and so, it feels more personal to the user. On the surface, we might feel that this will not make a huge impact, but trust me, it makes a huge difference. So make sure you add these little nuggets of personalization to your product as well. Then even e-commerce apps like Amazon or Flipkart, they have a huge focus on UX personalization because they identify their customers and their buying habits and then suggest some items according to them. So if you notice when you're on Amazon or on Flipkart or even Nika, they show products for you or products based on your previous suggestion or previous search history or something like that. So they understand your needs, they understand your buying habits, and they show products to you in such a way. So it's easier for you to scan through those products rather than being, looking for each product separately. It's also a huge advantage from the brand perspective, from their revenue, but from a user perspective, it's also very helpful. So make sure you're adding those personalization nuggets whenever you're designing your products. Right. Next is the light and dark mode. If you've noticed these days, a lot of applications have both the options, dark mode and light mode. Even your mobile application gives you, even your mobile phone actually gives you that option to turn your phone into a dark mode theme or a light mode theme. Now, dark mode, it's not new to, UI UX design mode. It's been there since a long time, but this has been coming up a lot recently because of certain advantages that dark theme offers to the users. So the light and dark mode toggle option has gained more popularity in the recent years than previously, but it is predicted that it will continue to be a hot trend in 2023 as well. So a dark mode, it provides more comfort to the user while they are viewing it because it's not too heavy on the eye, so it's easier for the user to view the experience and the screen. And especially for users who spend long hours in front of screens, this is a trend that people have been noticing, that they tend to use dark mode more. So it's important that you give this option to your users because then you will be able to tap into both the type of audiences. And additionally, dark mode also helps you save battery life on mobile devices with especially OLED screens. So more and more websites and applications are now offering this dark mode option, and designers are also incorporating it into their new design system everywhere that you will look at it. But at the same time, it needs to remain an option. Okay? You cannot go just for a dark mode or just for a light mode. You need to give the traditional light mode as well because a lot of people are used to it. So you can't completely revamp it, but it's always better to give the option so that people can adapt to it as and when they need it and as per their own taste. Even when we are designing a product, we are currently working on a project and now we are planning to revamp the project and create both the modes for them. So this is a trend that has been coming up in the industry as well, that now designers are required to create screens for both light and dark mode. So make sure whenever you're designing a product, you either pitch this idea or incorporate it while designing it. The next trend that we have been seeing is micro interactions. Now, micro interactions are these small, subtle interactions that enhance a user's experience. So it's very important for us as designers to focus on creating meaningful and engaging micro interactions that helps user to navigate and interact with the interface. So I'll give you an example of micro interaction. So for example, Gmail. On Gmail, when you go and you pull up the screen, it refreshes. Even Snapchat, when you pull it down, it refreshes. So this refreshing action that you're doing when you pull down the screen, it's called micro interactions. So these are these tiny, subtle, very subtle interactions that happen that give user a enhancing experience. It's more engaging for them. Even showing a tiny loader button is part of a micro interaction. For example, even scroll bar that you see. So scroll bar, when you have on side of the screen that's scrolling along with you, it gives a visual feedback to the users that, okay, this much page is yet to be scrolled or this much we've already scrolled. So it's easier for the user to know that, where they are on the screen. So these interactions are really helpful for the user to have a better experience with them. Then pull to refresh is something I just mentioned. Let me show you a couple more examples I have here for you. Yeah, I hope you're able to see the animation on the screen. 1 second. Yeah. Are you able to see the animation? Drop in a thumbs up. You can't see the animation. Let me just, okay, you can see it. All right, great. So this is a very, very subtle thing. What happens is when a person clicks on bookmark, the color changes to red in front of the user in a very slow motion type of a way. So this gives the user a visual clue that, okay, we have saved or we have bookmarked your request and you can view it later on, right? So it's a very, very subtle thing, does not take up a lot of space from the backend as well. And it's easier to show to the user. So it's more engaging for the user rather than just, not showing these visual cues. I have one more example here. So this is how the hamburger menu changes when the user is clicking on it. I'm sorry, I think my internet is a little slow. It's not, yeah, now it's working. So when you click on the hamburger menu, it changes into a cross. So this is also very, very subtle animation, does not take up a lot of space, but is very, very powerful when the user is using this. So once you're on the hamburger menu, the menu changes into a cross. So clicking on cross takes you out from it. Very visual, right? Very self-explanatory as well. So these kind of subtle things is something that you can incorporate in your design to help your user have a better experience. Now, it is also important to keep in mind that animated elements, they take up a lot of space. So you can't give something that's, very heavy on the back end as well, because then it'll take a lot of time to load, and a user does not have that sort of a patience to wait for, something that's not that important. So they will rather go away from the application. So all your hard work, all your minute will go to waste if you put something that's very intricate and very detailed. So it's important to, make them count. So use meaningful animations, use them only when required, and use it so that it complements the functionality. So for example, the hamburger turning into a cross is a function, right? You need to go out from the hamburger menu, and it's just subtly changing the whole thing. All right, so this is how you can use micro interactions. Yes, now the third trend is designing for metaverse. I'm sorry, the fourth trend is designing for metaverse. Now, in October 2021, Mark Zuckerberg made an announcement of renaming Facebook to Meta. The internet blew up with a variety of reactions, while metaverse made it to the top most searched what is question on Google. So it was under the title of the year, Google's annual year in search report. So it was on top 10, that what is Meta. So it has been something that has been gaining a lot of traction these days. So it's important for us as UI UX designers to also keep up with the same. Now, augmented reality and virtual reality, the Internet of Things, and 3D reconstructions are just some components of the metaverse, okay, that everyone is already familiar with. But the subtle rise of metaverse has enabled users to experience real-time interactions in no time, right? Although augmented reality has established itself as an effective technique for improving user experience, but it will take some time before users fully embrace its potential. A lot of people are still very uncomfortable with the metaverse, even the term metaverse. They don't know what it is, they don't want to know what it is. But a lot of people are more curious about it and want to learn more about it. So our job as designers is to make sure that this transition that people are having from going to from a normal interface to a metaverse is as smooth and as easy for them as possible, because metaverse is the future, right? However, the concept poses some hindrances to its acceptance. People are still not accepting it, but it is still part of it. So we need to make sure that this transition is easier for them. So this is where designers can bridge that gap by knowing about it. So read more about it, experiment more about it, so that you yourself are comfortable with the concept, and then you'll be able to make your users more comfortable with it. All right, so this is the fourth trend that we have, which is designing for the metaverse. Now we have the next segment, which is starting your career as a designer. So let's dive into it. Let's see what it is, how you can start your career as a UI UX designer. What are the things you need to keep in mind before you can work as a designer, and how you can make that transition from a student to a working professional. So what do you need to start working as a designer? It's one question that people ask me a lot, that, I'm a very beginner person. I don't know anything about design. Will people even give me an internship or not? I'm very confused. I don't have the skills. There's only three things that you actually need to start working as a designer, or to even start an internship as a designer. First is, you need to have an eye for design. You need to be able to differentiate between user-friendly design and design that's not very good for users. So have an eye for design. This is very easy to develop. Everybody here uses a lot of applications in our day-to-day life, right? We come across a lot of websites, a lot of mobile application. Zoom itself actually is a platform that we are using, and we all have different experience with it, right? So start noticing these experiences that you're having. Be active when you're using these products. So when you're active, you recognize certain things that are there in the in the platform that you like, and certain things that are not good for your personal experience. So start noting these things. It'll help you develop an eye for design, and this way you can recognize that what is a good design and what is the design that's not working for the users. Secondly, for this, you can go on Behance, look at different projects, start creating a personal design sense for yourself also. Everybody has a personal design style. Somebody are more, inclined towards illustrations. They have certain style of illustrations that that they design. Some people are more inclined towards image. Some are more inclined towards different things. So everybody has a personal style. Start recognizing that design. So when you go on Behance and you look through projects, you'll know what is your personal taste like and what are the kind of designs you are creating. So that is the first thing you need. Second is have knowledge of a design software. Knowing basics of just one design software are more than enough to start with, but it's important that you at least know the software, right? Because when you're starting as an intern, nobody wants to handhold you through everything. People know that you need grooming, they need to mentor you, but knowing the basics of a design software will help you fasten that journey. So it's important you know the basics of at least one design software. And after that, it's important that you have a design portfolio. Now, design portfolio helps you prove that yes, you have an eye for design and that you know a design software. So this will just help you bridge that gap between you and the person hiring you, and prove that yes, you have these skills and are able to, work as a designer. So these are the three basic things that you need to start working as a designer. All right. Now, what is a portfolio? So basically, portfolio is a document, or it's like like a simple personal website that you create, which usually is dedicated to showcasing your work. Now, it can be any work. It can be photography, it can be web design, logo design, graphic design, illustration, fashion, tech, anything. Portfolio is created generally for a creative field of work where you have multiple work and you want to showcase your skills through that. So that is basically what a portfolio is. And there are two types of portfolio. One is a physical portfolio and one is a digital portfolio. Now, in today's era, digital portfolio is a must-have for every creative professional. Now, not a lot of people carry a physical portfolio with them. They like to just send it to the recruiter and people can have a view with it. So that's more convenient. So have a digital portfolio which will bridge the gap between you and the recruiter. Now, with an online portfolio, you can display your best projects, you can provide your personal information, you can offer your services, and even include an online store. So portfolio is something that's important at different stages of life. You need a portfolio for an internship, you also need it for your job, you also need it for freelance project. And since we are an agency, we also need a portfolio. Now, let's see some benefits of having a portfolio. So the main benefit is that firstly, everything is at one place, because what happens is as designer, you work on different projects throughout your, time. So I have done my bachelor's in product design. So I've spent 4 years in a design college doing different projects. So now my main issue was how do I combine all the projects and show my 4-year worth of work in a single document. So it's important to have a portfolio because this gives a very quick gist summary of the work that I've done while I was graduating. Secondly, creating a digital portfolio is like combining your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your art page, and your resume, because your portfolio will have your work. It'll also showcase your personality. It'll also have your LinkedIn resume, and it'll also have contact details to reach out to you if somebody wants to work with you. So it's very important to show all of this in one place. So that is where portfolio helps. Now, if you're okay, let's get into the benefits actually. So the first benefits is that it's a professional way to showcase your work. Building a portfolio about your brand and experience is a very polished way to show your expertise with others. Instead of, going through all the things that you did, a portfolio shows your work in a very combined and a very concise way. It's very professional way to showing your portfolio. So rather than sending a link for a, maybe like a Google link drive with your work in it, it's not professional. So make sure you have a digital portfolio which you can send to recruiter, because it will really help you uplift that experience of the person viewing your portfolio as well. And digital portfolios actually can be more creative and innovative as well. So this is also one way of showing your creativity to the person. So here you can show your best work, Here you can showcase your personality as well, because in terms of the layout that you use, you can show that, if you're using, okay, let me tell you one thing. Sorry, I'm deviating a little bit here. Your portfolio is very important to showcase your personality as a designer and as a person. As a first time person stepping into the industry, you don't have a lot of work experience, so people are not going to judge you on your work, but they will judge you as a person. They will give value to your personal traits more than your design skills there. So it is important that you showcase that personality. So when I say personality, things like if you're easy to work with, if you are willing to learn, what sort of a design style you have, are you more organized, are you more cluttered, these kind of things you can actually make out about a person when you're going through their portfolio. Somebody just sending you a Google Drive link shows that they are not very serious about their work, and they're not very organized as well, because they're not even taking the effort to showcase their work properly. So make sure, even if you're not actively doing this, this is something a person is creating a perception about you this way. So it's important you have a very professional way of showing your portfolio so that people don't misinterpret these things. So it's important that you have that portfolio for that. Next is it boosts your online presence. So a lot of times what happens is, before even calling you for, hiring for an internship or a job, people Google you. Even I do it till date for with my clients or with my employees. I Google them before I even take up a call with them, to understand what sort of a person they are and what type of work they've done. So it's very important to have an online portfolio. If you Google my name, my online portfolio is right there on the first page of Google. So this way people looking for me know what sort of work I'm doing as well. I actually got my first freelance project through my portfolio, where I didn't even apply for it. I just had my portfolio posted on some platform, and somebody looked at it and contacted me for work. So this is how I got my first freelance project as well. So it's important you have your online presence, and make sure you have your online portfolio posted on multiple platforms like Behance, Dribble, there's Notion as well now, on various different platforms, so that people are able to search you easily, and then it's easy for them to contact you for work. Next is it generates credibility. The biggest benefit I have found from building a professional portfolio is gaining credibility. A portfolio allows others to see your work, what you're capable of, and what your strengths are. So this helps others see how you fit into their vision or company or product as well. So it also shows that you have multidimensional personality, and that you're objective, you're motivated, you're inspirational. So it's important that you create your portfolio so that people can see that this is the kind of work you're doing, you're very active on the internet. So it's easier for them to trust you in that process. This happens all the time with people these days. It's the more online presence you have for your work, the more easier it is for people to work with you and contact you as well. So make sure you have that online presence with your portfolio so that it's easier for people to trust your work. The fourth is it helps potential clients visualize working with you. So the benefit of having a professional portfolio is that potential clients or employers can see a clear picture of your growth over time. Even as a student, I had my portfolio made right after my first year ended, and I had it on the internet. So I have done at least a lot of internships. I've done 7 internships while I was still graduating in my 4-year degree. So all of these I've gotten through my portfolio. So I made a portfolio right after my first year, and I put it out there. Now people were able to see my growth as well. My first year work, my second year work, my third, fourth year work I've been doing after graduating as well. So this gives them a image of what sort of a designer I am, what sort of projects I majorly work on, what sort of design language I have, and whether I fit into their vision or not. A lot of times people are looking for a very specific kind of design, but that design should align with your needs as well, your interest as well. So people can judge that through the portfolio, and it's easier for you to narrow down that search as well. So going the extra mile and putting efforts into your portfolio provides a visual and a verbal example of your level of dedication as well. The level of dedication that you put into your craft, in your UI UX design journey. So it's very important that you make your first impression through your portfolio a good one. All right. Okay, let's move forward. Now let's see what are the things you can include in your portfolio. So I hope everybody is clear on what a portfolio is, and now we'll see things to include in your portfolio. Just quickly drop in a thumbs up if you're clear about what a portfolio is, and then we'll move on to things to include into it. All right, perfect. Great. Okay. So now things to include in your portfolio. Firstly, showcase a story. If you just add the end result, I as a recruiter will not know what it means, right? If you have designed a logo, अगर आपने कोई logo design किया है, मुझे नहीं पता that what was that logo made for, what brand it is for, what am I supposed to understand through this logo, why are certain colors used into it, I have no clue. So that end piece does not give me any insights as for you as a designer. It's important that you showcase a story here. You showcase the journey that you took to design that logo or to design that screen. You need to show all the steps in between so that I can understand that firstly, why was this made, what is the purpose of it, how did you reach the end result, and what are you trying to achieve through it. All right, so it's very important that you showcase this complete story. Second is make it visual. One thing I've been noticing a lot in recent portfolios that I view these days is that people add a lot of text. We are all designers. People hiring you are also designers. We don't like reading, right? We want to see visual elements. So if you're writing a paragraph explaining your design, instead of writing that paragraph, show an infographic, show a pie chart if you're showing data, show some sort of visual element just to make it more colorful, more brighter, more easy to consume. Nobody likes to read a lot of text. People just just skim through the text. So it's easier for you as designer, and it's your part of your work as well to make it a better experience for the person looking at your portfolio as well. So make sure you use certain things. Just add a phone screenshot and show some pointers through it if required, rather than showing a huge text. Next is make it easy to contact you. A lot of times people don't add their phone number or their email ID. If you're not comfortable with phone number, add your email ID or add your LinkedIn ID there so that people can at least contact you in case they want to work with you. So don't close the doors before they're even opened. So make sure you have your contact details easily visible on the portfolio. Fourth is showcase your personality. Now, as I already discussed this, it's very important that you showcase what sort of a designer you are with your portfolio. Everybody has a personal style, show that in your design. Also, when you're showing your portfolio, make sure you add projects that you're interested in. So for example, if I'm a UI UX designer, I would add 2 UI UX design projects in my portfolio. One may be a very small UI UX work itself, 2 long case study, 1 small project, and maybe I can also add 1 project of logo design because that is something I'm interested in. It's not part of my UI UX design profile, but if somebody does want me to work on UX on logo, I would be happy to do it. So 1 extra thing is fine. But if I want to work as a UI UX designer and I have 1 logo project, 1 social media project, 1 magazine design, and 1 UI UX design, there's a lot of variety, right? I don't know what you're interested in. I don't understand what to hire you for. So it's a little confusing. But if I see that, yes, you have majority of projects inclines towards UI UX, it's easier for me to relate with you as well. So make sure you showcase your portfolio in such a way. It's very important to plan your portfolio like that. Okay, now let's see how you can build your portfolio. These are the things you can add in your portfolio. Now let's see how you can start building it. Firstly, it's important to answer certain questions and prioritize your projects accordingly. So you need to answer certain questions as to what you want to work in, which field of work you want to work in. What are you really good at? What are the activities that interest you? What are the projects that you enjoyed working on? After answering these questions, segregate your projects and then decide what you want to add in your portfolio. All right. As I gave you an example, I would have 2 case studies, 1 short project and 1 side project, something related to design and creativity, but a little different from UI UX design. So this is how you can plan the structure of your portfolio as well. Now, if you're somebody who has good insight that, okay, you want to work with food industry brands only. For example, you only want to work with Uber Eats, Zomato, Swiggy, or something like that. Then make sure you have those kind of projects in your portfolio. Don't add a a e-learning UI UX design project or a fintech project. That will not help the user gain insight into how you would help their brand. So if you're very sure about the industry, you can create your projects according to that as well. It will really, really help you uplift your portfolio and have a better chance at getting an interview there. So this is what you can do in that sort of a scenario. Then showcase a story and not just your design. So as I mentioned, don't show your end design, show the complete journey that you're taking. Now what happens is people just post the end design, the end screenshot, but it's important to show the whole thing. So start with your design brief. Start why you are creating this project. So when you're adding your design brief, wrap it up in just 2 to 3 lines. No need to show a very lengthy design brief, just to show the purpose of the project, purpose of the end product that you're creating, so that from the get-go people are sure that this is what the project was supposed to fulfill. So have a design brief, have certain competitive analysis that you've done or you may have done, then have some nuggets of research that you did. It could be primary, it could be secondary. Then have your brainstorming ideas as well. So for example, if you're designing a login page, it's not that you design the login page and you come up with the right design in the first go, right? It's very rare. So you will brainstorm, you will draw some wireframes on the paper, you will scribble on the whiteboard or something. Click a picture of that, record it, and add it in your portfolio. That gives a huge insight to recruiter that yes, you're willing to explore other options as well. You're not very hard-headed, and you will design something that's in best interest for the user. So make sure you add these background work as well. So add the picture of those, scribbles that you did, add certain features that you wanted to add but rejected it because of certain reasons, justify it there as well. Now in the particular screen, if you're using certain colors, you can also showcase that also, that I'm using green because this is the particular kind of project and this was the brand color because of this. Show the why behind everything. All right, now don't make it a 20-page long case study, keep it concise, but show everything. For competitive analysis, you can just have one single screen with showing certain brands that you worked with and showing their logos or certain insights that you got wish with you. So you don't have to create a very, very detailed case study as well, so that the user or the recruiter gets bored, because you need to make sure it's a person viewing your resume, viewing your portfolio. It's also part of user experience. If I am getting bored looking at your portfolio, my user experience gets hampered, and that does not reflect good on you. So make sure that experience you're also including in your portfolio design. Next is get feedback and iterate. It's very, very important. What happens is people design in isolation. If you're a student, you will start working on your portfolio in isolation. You'll just design it, spend 3-4 months on it, and then you'll start sending it out without taking any feedback. Now, what happens is a lot of time, if you share your portfolio with somebody who's already a designer, or maybe somebody who's your mentor or your faculty, they'll be able to pinpoint certain things in your portfolio which you might not be able to see from a layman's perspective, right? Because you know that what you're trying to depict. But if that same thing is getting translated to the other person or not, this you can only understand when you show your portfolio to other people. So it's important that you take feedback and you iterate accordingly. All right. So that's all from my end. And now let's open the floor for some questions. And if you have any questions regarding portfolio, what to add, anything, I would love to elaborate on that. All right. Any questions? Okay. Maria is asking, I wanted to ask if it's necessary to make design system for every project. Maria, not really. It depends on brand to brand as well that you're working with. Sometimes people don't want to, spend a lot of time creating a design system. So what they do is they use pre-made templates as well. This is majorly done for MVPs, which is like the first stage of your design that you're making. After a point when you've grown, when you want to create that personalized style for your brand, that is when people go for a design system. That's a lengthy process. So yeah, it's not necessary for every project at the beginning. Okay. How and where do we apply for internships? Okay, so there are various ways of applying for internships. Zuno is one such platform, but what you can do is you can also network with people, so you understand that who is hiring, who's not hiring. You can also apply on LinkedIn. You can also send a cold email to brands you want to work with, even if they don't have an opening, so that way you will understand that if there is a requirement or not. A lot of times I got an internship just by emailing it to the brand when they didn't even have a requirement for it, but because they thought that I could add value to them as an intern, they hired me for that. So yes, you can send those cold emails as well. Will AI replace designer? Okay, Nachiketa is asking. So no, not really. AI helps designers in coming up with better designs, but UI UX design is about three things. It's about your design, it's about marketing, it's about user psychology. So all these three things is something that's very personalized to each user. So AI would not be able to replace design, but yes, it definitely helps designers come up with better designs. All right. Okay, so Simran is asking, can you give us some tips on UI designing? After I'm done with low fidelity prototype, transitioning into high fidelity designs is quite challenging since it's my first project, so I get doubtful every time. All right, Simran. So transitioning in from low fidelity to high fidelity can be a little daunting, but for this, what happens is you create a style guide beforehand. You create a separate document, like I'm just calling it document for the lack of a better word, but a style guide is basically a place where you add things like, what colors you'll use for your project, what sort of design elements you'll use, what fonts you will use, whether you're going to use rounded button, curved buttons. So these are decisions we generally take before even stepping into low fidelity wireframes. So once you have these decisions, it's very easy for changing the wireframes to HF ones, because then you're just changing everything according to the pre-decided things. You know what colors the main text is going to be, you know what colors the clickable item is going to be. So it gets a little easier that way. I hope I answered your question. Okay, we have one more question. If anyone is starting from scratch, what are the steps to follow to get go with UI UX? So Nilesh, as I mentioned, start by creating a eye for design. Start by knowing your personal design style. Start by critiquing apps that you're using. Start by understanding what good design is and what is the design that is not very good. There's no bad design, but there is design that that's not very user friendly. So start identifying those things firstly. Then go on Behance, look at different projects, start noting down things that you're liking about certain projects, start noting down things that you're disliking about certain projects. Then take up an existing app and try to redesign one feature. So for example, take up Instagram and just try to redesign the reels section of it. Start very small so that you're not overwhelmed with it. So just try to revamp that reel section. If you as a designer designed it, what things would you do differently? This is also something that you're creating your portfolio on the go, but this is also easier and important for you to understand your design style and practice it in a more better way that's useful for you in the future as well. So that is one. Second is learn a design software. Even if you know the basics of a software, it's more than enough. You can go for any Figma, XD, or Sketch, up to you. And then have a basic design portfolio so that you can start applying for internships. Internships is something that's very, very, very important for beginners, because you'll get a lot of insights into what a day-to-day work for a designer is. You'll also get to understand how the industry works, how to deal with clients, how to deal with different projects, how to work on shorter timelines, and it'll really help you in your professional work. So before going for a first job, it's easier to get the job through an internship. So go for an internship first, and then you can go for, it'll really help you in your career. Okay, how to create good design templates in beginning. So Sarna, it completely depends on the research you're doing and the project you're creating. There's no good template, or there's no, one standard way of showing a template or a design. It completely depends on the type of product you're working with. Your audience, what they need. User experience is very, very personalized. It is something that depends on the research that you're doing to come up with the design. So there's no, I can't really, give you a template for beginning with. But yes, if you're looking for something which will help you ease your UI design journey, you can download certain UI kits. These UI kits have pre-made templates for things like calculator, or certain text fields, or hover button, or normal button. So it's easier for you to understand and identify how to implement these things in an actual design. So UI kit is something you can try. Right. Is UI UX really worth to learn for future? So Dakshina, I would say definitely, but only if you have an interest. Any creative field is actually, very oriented towards an interest. If you're not interested in it, if you do not have that, uh, you know, uh, inclination towards that field, you'll get bored of it and it'll be very daunting for you. So it's important that you have an interest in it, and then it's really, really worth, because now after the pandemic, people have started recognizing the importance of good user experience. So people are hiring UX designers like anything. Like there's a huge opportunity for you. People are also hiring designers in India for companies who are in US for remote work as well. So yes, there's a huge possibility and a lot of opportunities for you if you really want to get into the field. Okay, so I'm building a personal portfolio for mine, so I can add any type of chat support based on AI. So Samik, of course, you can do that. But it's important you show why you're doing this and how you're reaching that end design for that. That's all. Like apart from this, it's a good project to work on. Are there architectures for UI UX design as well? How do we need? Okay, what do we need to learn in this regard? In CS and didn't do course or something. So I don't know if I know anything. Okay. So Maria, there is actually information architecture, but that's a little technical. I don't want to get into that right now because it's not relevant to a lot of people. But what you can do is you can start by, um, going on Behance and looking at projects. That'll give you a lot of insights as to what UI UX design is all about and what you will be required to do when you're working in the design field. Then of course you can start by learning a design software, or even experimenting on your own on the software and start creating those designs. If you're not comfortable with your software yet, if it overwhelms you, take a pen and paper, start drawing boxes, and inside boxes add things that okay, this is my mobile screen, I can place the logo here, I can add the welcome text here the login button can be. Try experimenting with this. Start very small, start on a very basic level so that it does not overwhelm you a lot, and this way you can create that habit of working as a UI UX designer. And as you grow, you can experiment with more things, you can move on to a software, then you can create a portfolio, do an internship. It will be very easy for you to transition into it then. Okay, if I'm a beginner and I'm trying to learn things by copying someone else's work, should I post it on my portfolio? Soumya, I would not recommend that. Of course, you can revamp their work. So if somebody has revamped Swiggy and you feel you can do it better, or if you feel that, as a designer, you would place a button in a different location or change the color of that, you can do that. Credit the user, just specify in the project details that this has been inspired by so and so person, so there are no IP issues with you. That's it. And if you're copying work, it's basically, that's for your practice. You don't want to show your practice work in your portfolio, you want to show your good work, because you only show 3 to 4 projects in your portfolio. So it's important you make them count. So don't show your practice work there, show your best work. All right. Okay, so can a 12th pass get into UI UX design as a main career? Absolutely. You can get into UI UX design. You don't generally need, a design degree. I went that route, but not everybody does that, and it's not important. What you can do is you can learn a design software or take up a 3 month course as well, because that will help you gain confidence in your personal skills as a designer. If you're a self learner, of course YouTube is there, everybody can learn from there. It's just a lengthier process. So yes, of course, after 12th you can do that. You can also go for freelance projects, do an internship after 12th, start opting for freelance projects, and then of course you can make a career into it. All right, I hope I answered your question. There's no name over here, so I can't address you, but I hope I answered it. Which degree have I done? Okay, so I've done bachelor's in product design, which is a 4-year degree. And yeah, that's what I've done. Which language do you prefer to design a portfolio? So a portfolio, you don't really need to code. You can either use no-code websites like Wix or WordPress. You can also create a PDF document of it and post it on Behance. You can also add your designs, screenshots and screens to Notion as well. You can also post it on Medium. You don't really need to learn coding to post that. If that's the question, that's what you meant by language. Okay. I have 3-year experience, but I have just one portfolio. So what can I do? So Chetan, what you can do is basically, if you don't have real project to show that you have worked on in these 3 years, you can create a mock project, something that you're practicing with. So for example, as I mentioned, revamp the Reels section of Instagram. For that also, you'll have to study Instagram. You'll study, what Reels was initially, what Reels is now. So that is your research that you add into it. Then the end screen that you're designing on a software, show that. If you're doing some animation or prototyping on it, record that, screen record that, and add it to your portfolio. This way you can create that portfolio and at least show 3 to 4 projects. Don't show just one project. All right, it will not give a lot of insights to the person hiring you. So at least show 3 to 4. Portfolio is required or not for beginner who wants to enter in UI UX design field? Portfolio is definitely required. Even if you are a first year student and you want to do an internship, it is very much helpful. You don't have to show a lot of technical details into it. When I started my internship, I did my first internship in my first year of college, and I just showed certain drawings that I made. I was applying for a jewelry design, internship at that time. I just made certain drawings that I was showcasing there because this helps the user or the recruiter know that you're serious about this field. So it's just an added benefit to you, which will help you get that internship or a job. So I would recommend to have a portfolio. And if not in the beginning of the career, you will definitely need it for your first job at least. So it's better you start building from a earlier stage. For internship, portfolio is required or not? Most of the time it is required. 99.9% it is required. 1% maybe somebody might, just have a word with you and understand about you as a designer and hire you, but that's very, very rare these days. Okay, so what is the roadmap to become a UI UX designer? I think I've already answered that. So yeah, you can either go to a 4-year degree in design and then apply for an internship or a job, or you can be a self-learner, do your graduation if you want to in any field, and then do a short course in design, then apply for an internship and then go for a job. This is the basic route that people follow. How to be more creative and bring more design thinking. Okay, so how to be more creative, practice more activities that are towards creativity. So even, painting, dancing, looking at applications, watching movies, these are certain things that help you expand your creativity. So as lame or as weird as it may sound, even things like watching movies or doing gardening, these things are associated with your creativity. So doing these will help you concentrate better. Doing this will help you explore or expand your horizon of creativity, and you'll be able to understand nature and world in a better way, and that translates in your design as well. So do certain creative activities in your day-to-day life, and of course look at different products that you're already using and try to imply your thinking into it and how you would make it better. Okay, this is an interesting question. What are the red flags of UI UX design? So the first one is focusing just on the aesthetics and not giving importance to the functionality of it. Second is not giving importance to the business aspects as well. You are designing for a brand. That brand needs to earn revenue. If that brand earns revenue through its users, only then that brand is going to be a success, right? So make sure you don't ignore that revenue and the brand aspect of a project as well. Thirdly, not thinking from a user's perspective, not doing your user research, just thinking that I feel this would look good. I feel this color we should go with. No, it's not about you, it's about your user. So you need to talk to at least a couple of users to understand what sort of issues you're solving for them, what sort of features would help them in that product. So these are the 3 red flags I can think of as of now. I hope that answered your question somewhere. If a UI developer needs knowledge of CSS, HTML, Java, UI developer does, UI designer does not. As a UI designer, UX designer, you do not need to know coding at all. In my career, I have not used coding even once. So no, you do not need to know coding. It's something that will just help you if you want to work as a developer and a designer. If you're freelancing, only then it will help you. If you want to work in an industry, you will either work as a developer or a designer. You can't do both the things. So if you want to go for design, no need to learn coding. Okay, so I've seen many companies are having requirement for coding languages. So firstly, they might say that knowing these languages is helpful but not a necessity. What happens is, because as a designer you will be working with a developer, knowing these languages will help you just easily communicate with them, okay, because you know that, okay, you know their jargons, you know their terms, so it's just easy for you to communicate with them, talk with them in their language. Apart from that, you're not required to code at all, unless it's a very basic startup and they do not have the budgets to hire a UX designer and a developer. Then they would want somebody who can do both the work. But if you're looking for a good company or a bigger company or a freelance projects, you either go just into design or just into development. All right, and make sure you're looking for profiles for UI UX designer, not UI UX developer. Some important tools for designing. So 3 major softwares are there. That's XD, Figma, and Sketch. Apart from this, there are a lot of research software. So InVision is good for doing mapping. Then Notion is also good for tracking your research and everything. But design softwares are XD, Figma, and Sketch. Knowing Illustrator and Photoshop also helps, but it's not a necessity. It's important more for graphic design work, not as a UI UX designer. Is that better to learn SQL or UI UX design? Both are completely different. One is for a developer, one is for a designer. So you need to make sure what field you want to go into, and based on that, you can prepare for that. All right, I think we have answered all the questions. Let me quickly go back to the chat and see it here as well. So we've answered this. Yes, I think we have answered most of the question. If I've missed any, please write it in the chat box. I'm sorry for missing it. But is XD getting obsolete? I would say in India, yes, I've been seeing that trend. A lot of brands are now switching to Figma than XD, which earlier had XD. But a lot of brands we work with in the US are still using XD, and their developers are more comfortable with XD. So I would not say it's getting obsolete as a whole, but yes, in India, people are preferring Figma more. What's the scope of UI UX designer in India and in foreign countries? So, Soumya, the scope in terms of what? Let me ask you specific. Do you want to know scope for job or freelance? Or internship? Internship, I'm counting as job. So, job or freelance, I'll answer accordingly. Job, okay. So, I would say in India, the job scope for UI UX designer is huge, because people do want a lot of designers, and they're also willing to pay for that. So it's also a high paying job if money is a concern. In foreign countries, being an Indian, it's a little difficult to get a job directly there. But for foreigners, it's again a huge market, huge scope, good money, good scope. But as a designer sitting in India, if you want to work with foreign countries, I would recommend freelancing. I have also worked with a lot of foreign clients just by freelancing. Even when I was, in college, I was not even a full-time professional then, but because I had those skills, I was able to work with them. So if you are freelancing, then you have huge scope in India and abroad. Thank you so much. I hope everybody learned something new today, and it was super fun answering your questions and taking a session for you.